This is the Personal Finance Show.
Hi, I'm Bo Humphreys, and this is the Personal Finance Show. Imagine you're visiting Europe for the first time. For some reason, you didn't think to buy any euros before you left home. You're Canadian, so all you have is Canadian dollars on you. You find out that things have changed recently in Europe, and there's no longer a way to exchange your Canadian dollars for euros. Your only option is to try to find businesses and people who will accept your Canadian dollars. You'll need food, so you start by asking at various restaurants, and each one says, "Sorry, we don't accept Canadian dollars." You have internet access, so you're able to search for the Canadian community in the city you're in. You eventually find someone who agrees to take your Canadian dollars in exchange for some food and transport to your hotel. But not every city in Europe will be like this. Luckily, you have some hotels pre-booked, but for most everything else, you're going to have to figure it out along the way. This is what it's like to travel with only Bitcoin. For the Money 2020 payments race in October 2017, Amélie Arras chose Bitcoin as her method of payment and made her way from Toronto to Las Vegas in a week. Somehow, using only Bitcoin, she won the payments race. Amélie joined me from the UK to tell her Bitcoin story. So, Amélie, thanks for joining me today.
Hello. Thanks both for having me. It's nice talking to you again.
You had Bitcoin, which everyone would immediately think would be the hardest one, but you won.
Yes. How incredible. I don't really know how that happened. I guess Cash took his time to arrive and enjoy his experience. I mean, yeah, Bitcoin was like really amazing to see like how like the community behind it and how they just like wanted me to win, and they were just like here to help like anytime I needed something, really.
Well, that's amazing.
So
I want to hear about all those little stories as we go along, but let's start from the beginning. So I met you at Sibos, the Sibos conference in Toronto, and that was your first time in Toronto, first time in Canada, and describe to me that day. What did you do that day, and what were the tasks that you had to do?
Yeah, so like on that Wednesday 18th, when the day started, our first challenge we were given by Ali from FinTech Finance, the organizer, was to go to talk to 3 people and ask them to wish us best luck for the thing, and saying like ask them like if they believe we were going to win. So on that day, I went around the conference at Sibos and asked many people. I asked Gayla, who is a fintech influencer, and I talked to Jennifer Starr, and she offered me to take me to Rochester.
Oh, really?
Yes, straight away. She was like, "Well, like we finished. There is a party tonight. Just like I take you from Toronto to Rochester because I'm going after the party, and then like you can see like from Rochester you can start like traveling around." So I was like, "Ooh, that's a really good start, like for me, like get offered a ride." So, but then while I was like considering this, we started our race from the IGTB booth at Sibos, who was like my sponsor as well.
Mm-hmm.
And another challenge was given to us that day, and that was the challenge for the next day, so for Thursday. And that challenge was to go to Columbus and buy an Ohio hat and go to the Jack Nicklaus Museum and take a selfie with a souvenir from the museum and an Ohio hat.
So everyone had to go to Ohio, but people went to different cities. You were in Columbus. Was anyone else there with you?
I think like Cash, so Stuart was in Columbus, and Ash as well. Ash was in Columbus as well.
Okay.
So like from there, I was thinking like if I get a ride to Rochester, how am I gonna then go from Rochester to Ohio. Like I'm not going to be on time.
Yeah, it might not
like
make
to
a lot of
complete my
sense, right?
challenge.
Yeah, okay. So what did you do instead?
So instead, I went on Facebook and reached out to Bitcoin Bay, who is like an organization in Toronto for Bitcoin. And I just like posted a message and say like, hey, everyone, I'm involved into that race, a payments race, and I've got to travel with Bitcoin. Would anyone be able like to help me out? Because I would like, if I pay you with my Bitcoin, would you be able like to get me to Ohio or Columbus? And someone replied and say like, Amélie, like what I could do is like, if you pay me in Bitcoin, I can myself like buy you a ticket and like drive you, get you to where you need to take the bus, and then here you go. So I was like, oh, fabulous. So I went to like meet this guy. So I paid him in Bitcoin directly, and he bought me a ticket to go to Columbus. And when I arrived at the station, then I saw Jess was there, Stuart was there, Ash was there, and Jordan was there. So like all the racers all had the same idea to take a Greyhound bus to start their race.
I wonder why that is,
So
right? There's so many ways to. I mean, you could have maybe taken a train, plane, but I guess maybe money was the issue.
Yeah, I guess like money was the issue. I think like when we started the race, we're all conscious of like, oh, like we've got to like sustain for like 7 days. So like we better like go with the cheapest way of like traveling.
And you had 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
To work with.
Mm.
Yeah, and
to start.
To start, and just to go back a little bit, can you briefly describe how do you actually transfer your Bitcoin to somebody else? Just in the simplest terms possible, so people are listening, so they can understand how that works.
Yeah, sure. So I used a wallet called Blockchain, and what Blockchain is an app. It's basically an app where you store all your Bitcoin, so like the same as like you would have like an app with your like a banking app. What I do with this app, how you transfer the money, is that someone else would have the same like another wallet or Bitcoin wallet. I scan a QR code as they've got on their phone, enter the amount I want to transfer, and I press send. It's as simple as that.
So that's the safest way to do it, is to meet somebody in person and scan the QR code that they have on their phone, as opposed to typing in a really complex address.
Yeah, so that is yeah, if you are like face to face, this is how to do, you just like scan the QR code. But yeah, as you rightly said, if you're not in front of them, then you can just like type the address and then here you go. And what I was doing as well, like during my race, was so I was FaceTiming people with my computer, and on the camera, they would show me the QR code, and
wow.
I would scan the QR code from their screen, and then just press send.
Oh, that's
so there's like
great.
many ways you can do it. Yeah.
Well, because from what I've learned recently, it's first of all, it's easy to make a mistake when you type in an address, and so you should always send a little verification to make sure you're sending it to the right place. And also, you don't even know sometimes if you're sending it to the right place. So I think what you did seems like the most secure way to get it through.
Yeah, you've got to like trust people with Bitcoin. I think like is one of like the big thing that especially like when you type an address. I mean, like yeah, you've when you're not in front of them, like first you've got like to make sure that someone that is not in front of you is actually going to send you the money, and they're going to like type your address and stuff like that. Like so, like I think for myself personally, it wasn't like I didn't need to like trust anyone really, apart from like the fact like are they gonna do like what I asked them to do or not. But for them, I think it was like a bigger risk. Like they really had to trust me, and
okay.
I was really lucky that all of them like trust me, because if I didn't want like to send the Bitcoin, like I wouldn't have sent them, and they wouldn't have got like the money. So like all the people that I've met like really trusted me to make sure that I was gonna send the Bitcoin to their wallet.
That's true. I mean, they would buy you the ticket after they got it, or would they buy you the thing that they like? Would you do it at the same time?
To be honest with you, like sometimes with some people it was like me was sending the money first, and in some other instances, one just before Las Vegas. So like this lady, she bought me. She's called Katie Charm. She bought me a ticket to go on a helicopter ride with her own money before I paid her.
Wow.
Right now, a helicopter ride is $400.
Wow.
So that was like a huge like proof of trust.
Now, was she following you online, or did she know about the race? Was there some kind of did she have some trust based on that?
I think like there might have been like some trust around like the fact that I was like vlogging because it was like on the last day.
Sure. So you
Um,
seem more
but
legitimate.
yeah, seemed like more legitimate in
But
that
you
in
could have
that
been
kind of
making it
sense.
up
Yeah.
too. You could have been totally, making up a story. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah, exactly.
there's a lot of things on the internet right now about people creating cryptocurrencies and then running away with the money. But I guess you can tell that
Yeah.
in person, right? When you meet somebody.
Yes, it's something that I met like a lot of like people, but then like as you said, like in that industry is really like a risk. Like I think like as an investor, you've got to do like your own due diligence if you want to invest into something
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you're not like anywhere anyone would have like bad intention. Like they're bound to be like in anything really
Yeah,
on the
you should
internet
do
these
your due
days.
diligence when you're putting money in anything, right? So
Mm,
so you're in Ohio, you get the hat, and then you went to the
yeah.
museum.
Yes,
How did
I
that
went
work?
the hat.
How did
I,
that work?
So when I got to Ohio, so that was quite funny. So like we left at like 6 o'clock Toronto, and we got to I got to like Ohio Columbus at 7 o'clock in the morning, the following morning.
This sounds terrible. Jessica
And
was telling me about her long bus trip to Cincinnati, and it just being that long in a Greyhound is never fun.
yeah, it was a funniest thing. I don't know if she told you about when we were on the bus when we crossed the border. That was really hilarious because each of us were thinking like, these guys at the border are going to think we are absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
luckily there were like five of us. The one that was the funniest, I was sitting just behind Stuart, and while he was blogging, so like you imagine like this dark bus, in that dark bus, and Stuart had his camera under his chin to make sure that like his face could be seen like on while he was like filming himself.
In the low light.
And and he said, and then like I heard him saying, right, this is the times I've been like quite worried about. I'm about to cross the US border and I've got $2,000 in cash in
In
dollar
$1
bill
bills.
on me. So I'm not really sure what they're gonna say. That looks really dodgy.
That's
So
right. And
at that
I
at
want to
that
hear from
point,
him. I haven't I've spoken to Stuart yet, but I can imagine his story is interesting. But it seems like it got
yeah.
through okay.
Yeah, it went like really okay. They laughed at us at the border. Yeah, they really laughed at us. They clearly like saw that we were all together like as like participating into the payments race. I think like it really helped that there were like the five of us like crossing at the same time
Well,
the
that's
border.
good. Yeah.
Otherwise on our own, I don't think it would have been. You can imagine how dodgy it was, like saying like, "Well, I'm here to cross the country to pay in Bitcoin, and I don't know where I'm sleeping tonight, but I'm soon to find out."
Yeah, because they asked what
um,
where your address is going to be in the U.S., right? They,
yeah,
you have to answer those
so we said we
questions.
were traveling. Yeah.
Wow.
They were quite receptive.
Well,
But then
that's
after
good.
that, so like yeah, it was really good. So after the border, so I got to Columbus. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and like didn't have anything to eat or anything. And then I was like, right, I know that Starbucks accept Bitcoin because I saw online that they accepted Bitcoin.
Okay.
And there was a Starbucks like not that far, and I was so excited that I would get like a coffee, something to eat. And I was like, thanks God, there's Starbucks. Starbucks is going to save me. We got there and I went at the checkout and said, like, excuse me, can I pay in Bitcoin? And she went like, Bit what? I was like, oh no,
Oh
oh
no.
no. Here we go, trouble start. And I was like, Bitcoin. I was like, there is article on the internet that says that you accept Bitcoin at Starbucks. And she was like, no, I'm sorry, madam. Like, we don't accept any of that.
Oh.
So I was like, oh no. Yeah. So then after that, I went in town and just like went around like looking for like anything that would accept Bitcoin, and I couldn't find anything. Could not find anything. So after like walking around, I think about like 2 o'clock, I met this guy called Ron that was sitting in a cafe, and everyone was like walking past and saying like, hi Ron," just saying hello to him. I thought he was a celebrity. Uh, uh, so I just walked past and say, "Hi, Ron," and he just looked at me like, "I don't know you. Who? Why do you say hello?" But he was like really friendly, and I sat down with him and start like talking to him. And from there, he said to me like, "Right, so like, how can I help you?" And I was like, "Well, like, it would be really great if you could like download this app called Blockchain. I would pay you, and like in return of this payment in Bitcoin, you would do something for me." And he was like, "No, I don't want any money." I was like, "Well," I was like, "No, but like I've got to pay you." And he was like, "No, no." He was like, "Seriously, I don't want like any money. Like what can I just like tell me like what I could do for you?" And then I said like, "Well, if you could like get me to that place at that museum, that would be great." Because I was like looking online, and it was like an hour and a half walking, and I was like, "Oh
Oh,
no, like
really?
an hour and a half walking." I could have done it, but then he said like, "Right, I'm gonna go and like buy you a bus ticket." So he bought me a
Okay.
bus ticket, and so I got myself to the Jack Nicklaus Museum. When I got to the Jack Nicklaus Museum, I was like, right, now I've got to buy a Ohio hat, which I should have done like before.
Ah,
Then I went to when I got there, I went looking for a place that could get me Ohio hat, and found actually a place that just like lent me the Ohio hat to go and take my selfie. So yeah, then like I took my selfie and then went back in town, went back in Columbus Center. And at that point, I went back to Starbucks right at the beginning. Everything started in
yeah.
Starbucks
Have you
again.
had any food
And
yet? Like, what are you eating?
no, I didn't have any food all day
Well,
at
so
that point.
like, did you have any snacks that you brought with you, or nothing?
No, I didn't have anything at all,
Oh,
which I was like getting really hungry
yes,
at
of
that point.
course.
So back at Starbucks, I went online and went on Facebook again and typed Columbus Bitcoin community, and then found a Bitcoin community in Columbus.
Nice.
So then I reached out to them, and then someone else like came back to me and say like, "Hey, Amélie, like I'm around. Like if you want to meet up, like what is it that you need exactly?" And I was like, "Right." I was like, "I pay you $50 if you get me to a shop, buy me just like a little bit of like food, and drive me like to a hotel, which I had pre-booked using cheaper online for Bitcoin."
Okay, so Cheap Air, they accepted
Yeah,
Bitcoin. That's perfect.
yeah, they accept Bitcoin. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I did. And so like he came to pick me up, like brought me, I paid him like 50, the equivalent of like $50 in Bitcoin.
All right.
So like again, like did exactly the same, like scanned this QR code, and the amount, and then like press send. And then so we went to that shop, bought some food, and then like he dropped me at the hotel. Then I booked the hotel near the airport, so I wouldn't have to buy anything else. Like basically, I would have just like in the hotel. Up, here we go. I'm here like to take a flight, and then that's it. So at that point, I'd booked like already like my hotel in at the airport, and my flight from Ohio, Columbus to Chicago.
Okay, so you got your second, or I guess third task at this point is go to Chicago.
No, our task at that point was
I know Jessica had to send something to Singapore.
yes, that's the one.
That
Yeah,
was
we
the
had
one?
to
Okay.
send. Yeah, that's yeah. After that, like all our challenges were exactly the same. So like yeah, we had to buy something and send it to Singapore. Yeah, that's the one. So when I arrived in Chicago, I went to the airport. I spent like a bit of time at the airport, and I had booked my hotel through Cheaper already, like for the night. And so when I got to the airport, I was trying to find a way to go to my hotel because my hotel was not at the airport this time.
Mm.
Um, so when there, and I talked to so many people at the airport asking, "Excuse me, like, do you accept Bitcoin? Do you know like how I could get to my hotel? Blah blah." And I had this guy telling me like, "Madam, like you would not find anywhere that accept Bitcoin here. This is a dollar-based economy."
Ah.
Yeah, no, like they would not accept any Bitcoin. That's what he said anyway. But then like I looked further, and like I found a shuttle that could bring me like freely to my hotel. eventually got to the hotel. Then I got to the hotel and I was like chatting with the guy at the reception. I said like, would it be possible like to speak to like the manager or like general manager about like Bitcoin and like what I'm doing, because like I would like to go to Chicago and I would like pay them like in Bitcoin if possible and to drive me. And then there like someone said to me like the manager of that hotel said to me, it didn't say to me directly, like he's the guy at the reception who went to speak to him then came back. So like, no, he doesn't want to get involved at all in Bitcoin. Like, no, this is like criminal money. And I was like, oh no. So then like at that point I was like, right, I'm going to do exactly the same as like what I did in Columbus. I'm going to reach out to the Chicago community. So I went on a website that's called coinmap.org and I called the 15 different places that were supposed to accept Bitcoin around 15 different merchants that were supposed to accept Bitcoin around Chicago to ask them for help. Most of them did not pick up and were closed. And one of them picked up and was Evanston, and is this shop called the Bifacillus Spikes shop in Evanston. And the owner and his wife, the owner is called Alex, and he basically said to me like, yeah, like we will help you and stuff. Unfortunately, like on that day, like he was like busy, so he could not help me out. But the second day, so I paid him like a fee, and like he got me a taxi to go to the shop, to their shop. It was like a bike shop. So I went into the bike shop, and then like we discussed, and I paid them. I bought a T-shirt from them, and then like a card as well, and I asked them like to send the card for me to Singapore. So at that point, I had like complete my challenge
All
from
right.
the previous day.
It sounds like a lot of times you have to maybe overpay a little bit to get people to do things. Is that what you found? You're just basically paying people for their service of helping you.
Yeah. So like it was like basically like me, like paying them for like services. But as like some people like for example this guy at Toronto called Abbas, what he said like, I don't want you to pay me more than what it's worth, because anyway I'm going to get more in a few days because the price of Bitcoin is going to increase. So like, just don't worry about like paying me.
Well, I was just thinking about that. The $50 you paid the guy in Columbus, it's worth more than $50 now, way more.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, since this was the middle of October, and so it's just about a month ago from today, and Bitcoin is going through the roof right now.
Yes, I think it's like nearly doubled.
It's really just crazy the way that it's going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose. And for people like, did the guy download the blockchain app and you paid him? Is that what happened? No, he just didn't want any money, right, from you, the guy that you asked.
In Columbus.
In
Columbus, no.
Okay,
yeah, he didn't want anything.
That would have been his way to get into cryptocurrency, and he might have missed out a little bit on that. But so so the bike shop, you got them to send to Singapore, so that completed your task, and you're in Chicago, and what do you do next?
So after that, they drove me back to the airport where I went to Denver. Okay. So like the flight again, like it was like booked through cheaper. And when I got to Denver, so that was a really good thing. When I got to Denver, that's when like I was like quite organized, I think.
Okay.
So someone picked me up that had a conference. He was like called Chris. He had a conference about Bitcoin just before, which I missed because like my flight was like quite delayed. But so he picked me up from the airport. We went like for a drink. He accepted Bitcoin. He was already like in the Bitcoin like cryptocurrency world. And then like he drove me like to my hotel. Then from that moment, the next day, what I did is I went into Denver City. And at Denver City, I just like visited a bit. I had like quite like a nice time, like just like looking around, trying like to find like places that accepted Bitcoin. I did not find like any, but like I didn't like really mind because I had like food from the previous like places that I'd went to. So like
so
I
when
didn't mind. So like in Denver, it was quite nice.
when you found a place that accepted Bitcoin, did you just like store as much you're like a chipmunk or a squirrel for the winter, like because you never know when you're gonna get the ability to buy food again?
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? So
It was pretty much like that.
you're rationing that you're like, oh, I have this little bit of a sandwich or a bar left, and I should just have a little tiny bite right now, just in case I
Yeah.
never have to get
Yeah.
food again. That's amazing. So, but did you have a task in Denver, or was it just get to Denver and then that's kind of the city just before Vegas?
So my task in Denver was to tell how much money I had left in a wallet, and on my wallet I can select how much. So like the task was like how much I've spent and how much I've got left in Singapore's dollars. So like for that, I just like literally like went on my app, changed the currency from dollars to Singapore dollar, and then I saw exactly how much I had spent and how much I had left.
And this,
Easy. So I just like literally read my wallet.
okay, well, yeah, so it's easiest for you because you're tracking it. Probably harder for Stu, right? With his dollar bills, but yours is all digital. And the Singapore thing is because there's going to be a conference there?
Yes, the next Money 2020 happening in Singapore.
And they're the sponsor
Asia.
of this race. And that's so there were some Singapore-based things.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you're able to do that quite easily. Then you stayed in Denver for the night and flew out to Vegas?
Yeah, it was a plan. And then Ali just like sent a task before the night saying that, hey guys, so like your challenge for tomorrow is to go to the Grand Canyon and then just like go to the finishing line. And I didn't expect that. I expected the finishing line to be on Tuesday.
Okay.
So I had planned. I had planned like to stay in Denver and like casually like start making my way to Vegas like slowly. So then I had to be like really reactive and like really quick into like what I was doing. So I wanted to change my flight from my original flight I had booked from Denver to Las Vegas to a much earlier flight that would leave Denver at 7:00 in the morning. Not 6:00 in the morning. That would get me to Vegas at 8 or something like that. So yeah, so I went on cheapair.com and realized that I could still do that. So I had to buy another flight, bought my flight, but with Bitcoin, what happened is that sometimes the time to validate a transaction takes 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Up to 2 hours. Yeah. So it always goes through, but like, for example, when you're booking like a flight online, especially last minute, by the time I send the payment in my Bitcoin, the price of the flight, not the price of Bitcoin, is increasing. So my flight that I paid at that time, when I booked it, was $50. But by the time the transaction went through, the price of the flight had increased to $63.
Okay.
So they called me up and sent me a message saying that to send extra. But they sent that to me by email. So by the time I got the email, it was too late for me to call them up and make a payment.
Wow.
So like because they sent, it was midnight at that point, and I was in Denver airport. So at that point, I was like, I'm never going to be able like to fly to Las Vegas in time. And I got chatting with this girl called Kelly at the airport, and I said to her like, well, I'm traveling with Bitcoin, and like I explained my situation. She was like, well, I want to get into Bitcoin. Like, tell me what I've got to do. Like, I'll buy you your ticket if you get me into Bitcoin.
Okay.
I was like, really? She was like, yeah. So that was like amazing. So that was like my experience telling someone how to like download the blockchain app, then setting them up their wallet. And then once their wallet was set up, sending them the funds.
Wow.
And this lady, Kelly, bless her, she was so nice. She said to me, Amélie, I can't believe how easy it is to get into Bitcoin. She was like, thank you so much. Like, I did not realize how easy it was. So now I haven't got a number still, but like the Bitcoin that I sent her that specific day was worth $6,000, and now it is worth $8,000.
6,000 to 8,000.
Yeah.
It's a huge growth. And so you helped her out. you set this up for her, and little did she know you were making her probably the best investment. And it wasn't really a risk for her because, she was just looking to get into it. Now, of course, there's volatility and everything, and we don't know what's going to happen in cryptocurrencies, but for that small amount, it sounds great. So, what I'm hearing is you had to use your networking skills and conversational skills more than anything to get things done.
But I think it's like not only like using my communication and networking skill, because to some extent, like, yes, like to get like people like to get like into Bitcoin, yes, I've done that, because there is like a few people that I actually like converted, like with make them like download the blockchain app to accept my Bitcoin and thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side is like what I won and managed to get to Las Vegas very easily is through the Bitcoin community.
Yes.
Because there is like this huge Bitcoin community. Like I was like with Bitcoin, you can transact with anyone, like anywhere in the world and at any time, really. So I was able to send my Bitcoin to like this Bitcoin community who would do something for me, and basically, so I've really like connected with them, and they've been like the biggest help. Like I couldn't have done it like without this community. It was really the community behind Bitcoin, like the vision that is attached to, that got me to Vegas.
Yeah. So you got to Vegas, and then you had to go to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned earlier that another stranger bought you a helicopter ride?
Yeah, so that was so I went on Reddit and reached out to the Las Vegas Bitcoin community and say, hey guys, I will be in Las Vegas and I absolutely need to go to the Grand Canyon. Would anyone be willing to help me out? I pay you, and if you can like take me there from the airport to like on a helicopter ride or in any way, like get me to the Grand Canyon, like I pay you in Bitcoin. And so many people like try to send me messages to help me in very different way. And this particular lady called Katie Charm, she booked us, and I really don't know how she managed that, because I had called myself like a few places to ask if they had any helicopter ride like early morning. But she managed to book one at 9 o'clock. So my flight landed at 8 o'clock in Las Vegas. She came to meet me at the airport. Then we went together to the helicopter ride.
Oh, wow.
Which I paid her in Bitcoin, and like she paid herself like the helicopter ride. Then the helicopter ride, it was amazing. They told us like, well, we give you like VIP passes. So we went on like a VIP trip to the Grand Canyon, took a lot of pictures there. Then when we got back after this trip to the Grand Canyon, which was just like breathtaking how amazing it was.
I can imagine with a helicopter view. It sounds like the best way.
Yeah, it was really amazing. You feel just like so small, and like it's just incredible, like the nature of just incredible what the nature is like in the Grand Canyon. It's something unseen.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
And then the helicopter took us back to the helicopter center. Themselves, the helicopter center put me in a car to drive me to the Venetian where Monet 2020 was. And there I arrived. I didn't know if anyone had crossed the finishing line. I kind of heard that Ash, who had gold, was there, but I didn't know if he had gone to the finishing line or not. So I would just literally run there and then got to the booth, and Ash was there, and I was like,
But,
yeah,
but
and that was the end of it.
Ash didn't win because he wasn't able to collect the same amount of points as you?
Yes, I think he missed like one challenge or.
So you win the race. You got to see you got to see all of these things. The question I have is, do you think you could live your whole life like this? Like, what if you had to go and say, hey, I need a sandwich. I'll send you some Bitcoin. Can you buy it for me?
Every day, no, because at one point I think I would talk to the merchant and get the merchant to accept Bitcoin.
That's right. You would use your skills to change how the world works, right?
Yeah, and that is something that I actually want to pursue. and carry on doing, because I do think like Bitcoin is it's just like amazing, like because you're like completely in control of like what you do with your money, and like it's basically digital cash. That's all it is
It's
it's
true.
cash, but like on a mobile phone.
Not just Bitcoin or
So
other cryptocurrencies as well, like just
any
cryptocurrencies in general.
cryptocurrencies in general are digital cash.
Mm-hmm.
It's just money. That's all it is at the end of the day, and we don't have to be like afraid of it. It's a future. It is really the future. And I'm quite determined actually to get merchant to like stop being scared of like what it is, and just like embrace it. Just embrace the fact that in the future we're all gonna be like transacting with our mobile phone, or even like with a watch, or like with a ring. Who knows?
I mean, I think you're right. I think merchants specifically are probably worried about risk, and anything that's online. You know, a lot of people are still getting used to paying for things online with their credit cards, aren't they?
I think, yeah. Well, it's something maybe like in the US, in the UK, we're quite used to ordering online and like even using contactless. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, the ring is. The first time I saw it was at Cybos, and I'm sure it's getting more popular in the UK. You know, I know in
mm.
Canada, a lot of people they're really stuck on debit. At the beginning of this, did you think that you would be doing so much bartering like you did in trade, or did you think you might find places to actually spend?
I was expecting to find places to spend because I'd done like a lot of research on like merchants that accepted Bitcoin, and I was
Mm-hmm.
quite to see like on coinmap.org that so many places that accepted Bitcoin were either closed or not in trade anymore.
They're listed as
So I
accepting Bitcoin, but that's not necessarily accurate.
the information on coinmap.org is not very accurate.
And
So
that,
apart
yeah,
from that, the Bufacillus bikes shop,
yeah,
that's the only one.
which is, I mean, at least you could buy something from there that helped you, but
Yeah.
they didn't sell food, they didn't sell hotels, and they didn't sell plane rides. Yeah, those are the things you needed the most, and I'm surprised. I mean, I'm glad you could do stuff with cheap air. That was good. And
Yeah.
and the hotels, remind me, you were able to book them too through cheap air.
Yeah, some of the hotel I booked through cheap air, and some of the hotel I used the Bitcoin community to say like, hey guys, like, can I ask you to book me a hotel if I pay you in Bitcoin?
So
And
so really, all it takes is one in the travel industry. All it takes is one or two of the hotels.com or whatever. If they started to accept, then you could book a rental car probably, and or kayak, right?
yeah,
If they started to facilitate that, then it wouldn't have to be like a whole bunch of different companies do it, just the ones that work with the companies, and then they can transfer them whatever currency that they need.
you only need like just like a few travel agents like to get Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency like accepted like widely, and like to do like quite a lot in terms of travel. Where then like it gets like a little bit more difficult is like transport. But if you think about it, like because I thought quite a lot about it,
Hmm.
um, all you need like to make cryptocurrencies accepted widely is just like to target like the worldwide shops, such as Starbucks, such as Uber. Uber, you can get like a taxi anywhere.
Hmm.
Cheaper, you get like all your hotel, or like renting a car and flights. Then Starbucks for coffees, and then like if you get like let's say like Walmart to accept Bitcoin, and there's Walmart
There's
like
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah, so then that covers just about anything else you need. Did you already send a pretty nasty email to Starbucks, or are you planning to do that?
I won't send them like a nasty email, but I think it's like I found it like a bit cheeky. Not even like cheeky, because like they do accept Bitcoin, but like in a very different way. Like you would have like to go online, then order like a card that you preload with Bitcoin, and then once you get your card, you go and spend that. But that at the end of the day would have been like me paying with the preloaded.
With a Starbucks card?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they basically have a,
So
a Starbucks card that you can load with Bitcoin, which didn't help you.
mm,
It's not universal enough, which is the whole idea of a
yeah.
decentralized currency.
Mm.
that you don't have to go to a specific place to get it or spend it. So way to go, Starbucks, for totally missing the boat on the the concept of cryptocurrency.
But actually, like they, it might not be like such like a bad thing, because like you could load your prepaid card in Bitcoin and then you'd use this prepaid card like anywhere in the world.
Okay, sure. So this
Like,
card,
that
it
could
can be
be.
used. You just have to get the card that they accept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to like pre-order it, I think. But one thing that was good about Starbucks is that even though they did not accepted Bitcoin, they gave me a free coffee on that morning at 7 o'clock when
Okay.
they saw like the complete decomposition of my face
So they
when they said they did not accepted Bitcoin.
so they
I was like,
they
no
redeemed
coffee.
themselves, and also it sounds like they gave you free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice too. So okay,
Yeah.
Starbucks not getting a nasty email. They're trying to help. They're trying to get the Bitcoin thing, maybe not in the way that helped you the most, but at least they're doing something, as opposed to the people at the Chicago airport who said we only accept U.S. dollars in this country.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately a little bit narrow-minded, but you would have got that response if you tried to spend Canadian dollars. So that's the way that it is, and hopefully Bitcoin will change that. And I'm glad that you volunteered to do Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
And you're still glad that you did?
I'm very glad I did, and I'm going to carry on. I really hope to carry on. I've got already like a few projects to carry on promoting the benefits of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I am myself like in I'm already like doing some work within the fintech and payment space, as my marketing agency. But one of the things that I would like to do extra from that is to promote and make the world of cryptocurrency and finance much simpler for people who don't necessarily like get it, for like the general person like in the street, to make it like understandable.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things I've noticed is that if you look on the internet what is Bitcoin, you are going to get like the first thing, Bitcoin is a decentralized blah blah. You switch off. If you're not into the payment or into the finance space already, as soon as you see the word decentralized, you're like, oh, what does that mean? It's scary.
Yeah,
It's quite scary and daunting.
Yeah, especially
So,
people say that you shouldn't buy cryptocurrency if you don't understand the computer science and the code behind it, and that I don't know if I ever could. So I rely on people that I trust to tell me that this is not a scam. Bitcoin's not a scam. Ethereum maybe not a scam, right? The ones that are big enough, but who knows about the 800 other ones? You don't know, right? You can't trust it. So if we need people like you who can kind of distill all this information out there into something simple, saying, hey, this is real, this is not. You're not going to lose all your money putting it in this. You never know if it's going to go up or down, of course, which is like it's as volatile as any other stock, like a tech stock or currencies for that matter. So you're taking your risk and know your risk, but is it going to disappear and someone's going to take my money and run? That's a different story, right? You can at least maybe speak to that and help people make better decisions.
Yeah. So that's what I want to do. I want like to promote what it is and make it like for people like understandable, because it is the future. So like everyone has got to understand what it is. It is the future, and all it is just money.
It
is just money.
Just money.
That's all it is. It's just in a different form.
That's right.
The way that all our ancestors had to change from gold to paper. Can you imagine? Like I imagine actually like our ancestors got pretty scared when someone told them like, hey, now your money is going to be a piece of paper.
Who's going to take this paper from me? Who's going to believe me? Who's going to, all this kind of stuff, right? It's the same. You're right. It's the same questions that everybody had whenever there was a transfer, right? It was, and then the governments backed it, and in God we trust, religion, people trust in that. And now it's people need to trust in the data. People need to trust in in security, in the blockchain.
Yeah.
So how do people follow you or find out about the projects that you're doing? What's the best way to find out what Amélie is up to?
So the best way to find out what I'm up to is to follow the YouTube channel and my Twitter, and it is Amélie Arras, so Melre, and Arras Arras. So I'm on YouTube, and the new project is going to be called Funny Money,
Okay.
and it's coming out soon.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, so Funny Money on YouTube, Amélie Arras. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to talk to me from the UK. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Bo. It was lovely talking to you again, and I hope to see you soon in Toronto, maybe next time, or if you're coming to London.
That sounds great, and yeah, if I'm in London, I'll come find you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
How do you think you would have done in Amélie's shoes? Do you think she was lucky, resourceful, or a bit of both? To learn more about Amélie and the payments race and Bitcoin, just head over to the show notes and I'll have some links there for you. Next week on the Personal Finance Show, I will have Allison Suter from Simple Tax. If you enjoy listening to the Personal Finance Show, please show your support by subscribing and leaving a review on iTunes. No time for a review? Just leave me a star rating. It takes 2 seconds on iTunes. Don't have iTunes? You can head over to Stitcher. I put the link in the show notes. InvestWisely.ca is where you can find all the show notes and links, and of course all of my blog posts. I'd love to hear from you, so please feel free to send me an email at bo@investwisely.ca.